Welcome back to Deep Cuts. Tonight I have three stories for you. Three urban horror experiences that all feel a little too real to ignore. So get comfortable, turn the lights low, and settle in for Deep Cuts, Volume 2. I didn't believe my neighbors when they told me not to speak to the man in 3F. I thought it was drama, or that they were exaggerating, but they weren't warning me because he was dangerous. They were warning me because nobody in the building has ever seen him, not once, in almost 8 years. People hear him, people smell his cooking, people hear the TV, but no one has ever seen a face through the peephole, and somehow he still knows everyone's name. I realized something was wrong the night he said mine, and I was standing alone in the hallway. When I first moved into the building on DuPont Street, I wasn't expecting much. Just a cheap apartment, working elevator, heat that didn't cut off in January. The building wasn't the projects, but it wasn't luxury either. Just regular, families, old folks, night shift workers, people minding their business. The hallway floors had that permanent wax smell. Lights flickered. Doors creaked when they closed. A typical city apartment building. My unit was 3D right across the hall from 3F. The first time I walked past that door, I remember thinking, damn, why is his peephole taped over? Just a piece of black electrical tape, clean strip, perfectly cut, no fingerprints, like someone didn't want anyone looking out or in. Didn't think too hard about it at the time. My first neighbor encounter was Mrs. Henley from 3E, older black lady, retired nurse, real sweet. She saw me unlocking 3D, smiled and said, "Oh baby, you right across from him." I asked, "Who?" She looked at the floor, tilted her head, whispered, "3F." Then she walked away like she already said too much. Later that night, I heard someone shuffling around inside 3F. I heard footsteps, water running, TV low, normal stuff. But around 2 a.m., I heard something that made no damn sense. A chair scraping across the ceiling. Except 3F is on the top floor. Nobody's above him. I paused, listened again. Another slow scrape. But I brushed it off as pipes or something. 3 days later, I was heading down to get food. As I locked my door, I heard a voice behind me, deep, calm, too close. "You settling in all right?" I turned. Nobody. Hallway empty. Elevator closed. Both stairwell doors shut. But the voice had direction. It came from behind me, right from inside 3F. The door was closed, but I swear I felt breath on my neck, like someone was inches from me. Yeah, I said awkwardly. No answer back. Just silence, like I imagined it. I hurried downstairs. A week in, I finally asked my boy Marcus from 3C about the dude in 3F. "Bro," he said immediately, "don't talk to him." "Why not?" Marcus rubbed his forehead. "He's not normal. Nobody's ever seen him, but everyone hears him. He knows everybody's business, everybody's schedule. What time your mama be calling you? What color hoodie you wore yesterday? Even if nobody saw you." I thought he was joking until he added, "Ask around. Nobody has a memory of him entering or leaving that apartment. 8 years, bro." I didn't want to believe it. Sounded like paranoia, like the building had some weird urban legend. But that night, things escalated. I had just gotten home from my night shift around 12:40 a.m. The hallway was dead quiet. I walked past 3F, and something whispered, "You're late tonight." I froze. The voice was right at the bottom of the door. Too close, too clear, too aware. I hadn't told anyone my schedule, not even Marcus. I kept walking, slow, steady, pretending I didn't hear it, but my heart was pounding. I locked my door, turned off the hallway light. I watched the gap under 3F from my peephole. Something moved, a shadow, like someone standing on the other side of the door, but too tall, too still, just waiting. 3 nights later, I woke at 3:17 a.m. to a sound I never want to hear again. Knocking, Not on my door, on the wall, the shared wall between my apartment and 3F. Slow, rhythmic, 3 taps at a time, like it had a pattern or a message. I put my ear to the wall. Silence, then breathing, deep, slow, almost like someone was standing with their forehead pressed against the wall. Matching me, I stepped back, waited. My phone buzzed. Notification. Are you awake? The sender. No caller ID. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Then I heard it. My name through the wall. Whispered, stretched, like someone learning how to say it.
Jay.
I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I went straight to Mrs. Henley's door. What is in that apartment? I demanded. She hesitated. Tears actually formed in her eyes. Baby, whatever is in 3F isn't a man. I felt chills. She continued. He moved in 8 years ago. I saw him once. One time. Tall, quiet, always in the hallway shadows. Didn't blink right. Didn't breathe right. What happened? He disappeared. But the noises kept happening. The voice kept talking. Packages kept arriving. Rent kept being paid. But nobody has ever seen him leave. She looked dead into me. And don't ever say your name out loud near that door again. I came home late again 2 nights later. Hallway was dark. Motion sensor didn't turn on. As I walked past 3F, I heard the voice again. Jay, don't go inside yet. I stopped, not because I listened, but because it said it differently this time. My name didn't sound like my name. It sounded like someone copying someone else who said it first, like a recording of a recording. Jay. It said it again, but wronger.
Jay.
Then the peephole, the one that was taped over. I swear I saw the tape bulge outward, like someone pressing their eye against the door, looking out. Except the tape was still perfectly stuck, which means whatever was looking wasn't using the peephole. I ran inside my place and locked everything around 4 a.m. Scratching, not on the floor, not the wall, on my door, slow, finger-length scratches, moving up, then down, then sniffing, like something smelling the air under the crack. I grabbed a kitchen knife, turned off the lights, and stayed perfectly still. After a minute, the scratching stopped. Then a whisper through the door.
Don't ignore me.
The next morning, maintenance was outside 3rd floor. 2 guys, a supervisor, and the building manager. Door wide open, empty, no furniture, no clothes, no food, no bed. Just an apartment full of dust. Finally evicted him, I muttered. Maintenance guy looked confused. There ain't been a tenant in here for years, he said. I pointed at the TV still plugged in the chair marks, the footprints in the dust. He shook his head. No electricity runs to this unit. Breaker's been off. Power company cut it 4 years ago. I looked back into that apartment. The darkness inside felt aware. The manager shut the door, locked it, walked away. I started heading to my apartment, and from behind the door of 3F, low, slow, unmistakable,
Jay.
my lights flickered, and the tape over the peephole fell off on its own. I don't really post, but I've been lurking on here for a long time, and I think what happened to me might fit here. This took place last year in D.C., up around Georgia Avenue, Petworth area. I'm not going to say the exact cross streets because I still live not too far from there, and I really don't want people trying to go ghost hunting or whatever. Anyway, I worked nights at a small bar, mostly local regulars, nothing crazy. We closed at 2 a.m., but by the time me and the other bartender cleaned up, counted the drawer, and took the trash out, it was usually close to 3. Parking on Georgia itself was hell, so most of us parked on a side street 1 block over. It was one of those narrow residential blocks. Row houses, a couple small apartment buildings, and these old-ass streetlights that look like they haven't been changed since the 70s. One in particular, at the far end of the block, always flickered. Not like occasionally flickered, I mean it was constantly buzzing and dimming, like it couldn't decide whether to stay on or not. That's where I first saw her. The first night, I honestly didn't think much of it. It was a Thursday. We'd had a chill service, a few regulars, a couple of drunk, how are we getting home girls, nothing crazy. I clocked out, grabbed my bag, and said goodnight to my coworker. When I turned the corner onto the side street, I saw someone standing under that flickering streetlight. It was a woman, or at least that's what she looked like from a distance. Thin frame, long coat that fell past her knees, dark hair, kind of hanging straight down. She wasn't on her phone, wasn't smoking, wasn't pacing, just standing there. I assumed she was waiting on an Uber or Lyft. That block is a common pickup spot. I walked past on the opposite side of the street. I remember thinking, damn, it's late to be out here alone, but I didn't say anything. I don't know her, she doesn't know me, and in DC, you learn quick not to be too friendly at 3 a.m. Still, as I got into my car, I had this weird feeling that something was off. I just couldn't put my finger on it. When I pulled off, I glanced once in the rearview mirror. She was still there. Same spot. Perfectly still. Second night, she was there again. Same streetlight, same posture, same coat. I chalked it up to coincidence. Maybe she lived in one of the houses nearby and liked to take late night phone calls outside, even though I never saw a phone. Third night, she was there again. By then my brain started doing that thing where it tries to make up rational explanations. Maybe she works nights, and this is her fresh air break spot. Maybe she's waiting on a ride every night. Maybe I just keep leaving around the same time. The fourth night is when it crossed from weird into I don't like this. We closed late, and my coworker left before me. I was by myself closing up. When I turned onto the street, I already knew I was going to see her, and I was right. Same exact spot. Streetlight flickering above her, head angled just slightly down, as if she was staring at the pavement in front of her feet. Except this time, I decided to walk on her side of the street. Not right up on her or anything, but I wanted to see her face, or at least get a better look. As I got closer, I realized something was wrong with the way she looked. Not her body, that seemed normal enough, thin, average height, but her face? It's like my eyes refused to focus on it. You know when you're trying to look at something through heat waves in the summer, and it kind of shimmers? That's the only way I can describe it. I could see where her face was, but I couldn't pick out her nose, her mouth, her eyes. Just this vague blur. It made my stomach drop. I slowed down a little, and I swear the air got colder the closer I got. Not dramatic movie cold, but enough that I could see my breath a little heavier than before. "You good?" I asked, because it felt weirder to walk past without saying anything. No answer, no movement, not even the subtle shift of someone adjusting their weight. I walked past her, heart pounding, pretending like nothing was wrong. Got in my car, locked the doors. I told myself I was tired, that my eyes were messing with me, that the streetlight was playing tricks. But then I looked in the rearview mirror. She was still there. Same spot, same posture. Except now her head was tilted slightly in my direction. After that, I changed where I parked when I could. If there was space closer to Georgia, I'd take it. Some nights, I'd walk out with coworkers so I didn't have to be on that street alone. But not every night gave me that option. Sometimes, when the bar was dead, my manager would send the other bartender home early, and I'd be stuck closing alone. One of those nights, it was raining harder than usual. The sidewalks were slick, and the light reflections made everything look double. I turned the corner and saw the streetlight. It was empty. I actually breathed out a sigh of relief. I had gotten myself so wound up over this woman that seeing nothing there felt like a small miracle. I walked down the block, scanning for any sign of her, but saw only parked cars and closed curtains. My car was halfway down on the right side. I hit the unlock button and heard the familiar beep, saw the flash. As I put my hand on the handle, I heard something behind me. It sounded like fabric shifting, the quietest sound of someone taking a single step. I turned. She was standing across the street, not under the streetlight this time, not at the end of the block, directly opposite my car. Same coat, same hair, same stillness, no umbrella, no hood, just getting rained on like it didn't bother her. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard it hurt. I don't know how long we stared at each other, or rather, how long I stared at her, because I still couldn't really see her face. It was like there was a shadow where her features should be. Not a blackout shadow, just nothing I could make sense of. I don't know what possessed me, but I said, "Do you need help?" My voice sounded too loud on that empty street. She didn't respond, didn't even twitch. I blinked. It was literally just a reflex. And when my eyes opened again, her head was tilted to the side in that same unnatural angle, like before under the streetlight. I got in my car so fast I almost slipped, locked the doors. For a solid 30 seconds, I just sat there, hands shaking on the steering wheel trying to breathe. When I finally looked up, she wasn't there anymore. No coat, no outline, no footsteps walking away, just the rain. I didn't tell anybody for a while. It sounded crazy, and the last thing I needed was my coworkers joking about my ghost girlfriend under the streetlight. The person I ended up telling, indirectly, was my neighbor. I live in an older apartment building a few blocks from where I worked at the time. One of those brick boxes with thin walls and a permanent cooking smell in the hallways. There's an older lady on the second floor, Mrs. Carter, who sees everything. The type who's always at her window, knows who comes and goes, complains about packages being left in the lobby too long. One day, I was coming in with groceries, and she stopped me at the stairs. "You still working those late nights?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. She pursed her lips like she was debating saying something. Then, "I'm going to ask you something, and don't laugh at me," she said. "All right," I said, confused. "Who's that woman you be talking to near your car at night?" I stopped on the stair. "What woman?" She squinted. "The skinny one, long coat. She be standing by your car sometimes. Y'all out there for a while. I see you from my window sometimes when I fall asleep in the living room." I felt a cold weight drop into my gut. "I don't talk to anybody," I said. "I go straight to my car." She shook her head. I see you. You be facing her, hands moving, like you explaining something. But she just stands there. Don't move a muscle. It's weird." My mouth went dry. I wanted to argue, tell her she must have me confused with someone else. But the way she looked at me, tired, serious, like she had no reason to make this up, shut me up. She kept talking. "Last week, around 3-something, I saw you again. Same spot. You was talking, and I swear on my life, baby, I never saw that woman's chest move not once. Not like she was breathing. Nothing." She gave this little nervous laugh after she said it, like she realized how strange it sounded. I didn't laugh. That was the first night I called out of work just because of a feeling. I eventually switched jobs. Different bar, different neighborhood, different parking situation. I avoid that particular side street whenever I can, even during the day. Sometimes I have to walk near it to hit the metro, and every time my eyes flick to that same streetlight at the end of the block. Most days, it's just a busted old lamp over cracked pavement and someone's trash cans. But sometimes, when I'm passing by later than I meant to, I see a figure, thin, still, a little off center from the light, and I don't look long enough to see if her face is blurred again, because whether she's something supernatural or just a very broken person standing under the same light every night, I get the feeling that if I stare too long or get too close or ever answer whatever she's waiting on, I won't be the one posting on here about it. I've been driving rideshare in Atlanta for a few years now, mostly nights. I'm used to weird riders. Drunk college kids around tech, couples fighting in the back seat in Buckhead, dudes too high to remember where they live. What I'm not used to is questioning whether there was ever actually somebody in my car in the first place. This happened about 9 months ago. I wasn't going to post it because it sounds made up, but after talking to a couple other drivers and seeing similar stories on here, I figured screw it. Take it how you want. It was a weekday, like a Wednesday or Thursday, not too crazy. It was around 1:15 a.m., and I was parked in a lot not far from Edgewood, waiting on a ping. I usually run until about 3 or 4 if the rides keep coming. I got a request from a user named S. Gray, no profile picture. rating 4.9. Pickup location was a side street near Memorial Drive, kind of between some bars and a more residential area. Nothing unusual. People request from little side streets all the time. I accepted, pulled out, and headed over. The street was quiet when I turned onto it. A couple of houses with lights off, a church at the end, one flickering street lamp. Classic Atlanta side block. The GPS told me I had arrived. I slowed and turned on my hazards. No one was standing outside. I waited maybe 20 seconds, checked the time, looked at the house numbers. I was about to hit the "I've arrived" button when my back passenger door opened. Soft click, then the thump of it closing. I jumped a little, I won't lie. I glanced in the rear view and saw a figure sitting directly behind me. Black hoodie up, head slightly turned toward the window, hands resting on their thighs. "Hey, how's it going?" I said, because that's what you do. The person didn't respond at first. I checked the app. The rider's name was S. Gray, and the destination was some apartments near North Druid Hills, so not a short ride. "You S. Gray?" I asked. There was a small delay, then a quiet, "Yeah." The voice was low. Could have been male, could have been a lower-voiced woman. No accent I could peg right away, just flat. "All right," I said, "let's get you there." We pulled off, and after that it was silence. Not the normal kind of silence. Usually you hear people on their phones, texting, scrolling, breathing, shifting around, whatever. This person didn't make a sound. No phone glow, no movement out the corner of my eye, nothing. I told myself they were just tired. As we merged onto the connector, I tried some very basic driver small talk. "You have a good night?" Nothing. I glanced in the rear view. From what I could see, their head was turned toward the passenger side window, hood still up, face mostly in shadow. "Long night?" I half joked. This time I got a reply. "Just drive." No annoyance in the voice, no anger. It sounded like a command. Something about the way they said it made my shoulders tense. I shut up and focused on the road. But that weird, stretched out silence kept pressing in on me. About 10 minutes into the ride, traffic thinned out. There were maybe 2 cars way up ahead, no one right behind us. At some point I checked my mirror again. The back seat was empty. I thought it looked kind of empty. Just empty. No hoodie, no shape, no shadow moving. Just my backrest and the faint reflection of the road behind us. I blinked hard and even wiped at my eyes once. "Stop tripping," I muttered under my breath. When I looked up again, the passenger was there. Same posture, same direction, like nothing had changed. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. We got off near North Druid Hills, the GPS guiding me toward a set of apartments tucked behind a gas station. The whole time, I avoided looking back again. I could feel the presence behind me, like a pressure in the car, but I didn't want to see whether the seat was empty or not. As we turned onto the last street, the ride felt longer than it should have. Time kind of slowed down and stretched between traffic lights. Finally, we pulled up in front of the destination. It was an older complex, brick, half the lights in the units off, the kind of place where people work weird shifts and mind their business. I put the car in park. "We're here," I said. Nothing. I waited a couple seconds. "You good back there?" I added. Still nothing. That was the point where annoyance overpowered the unease for a second. I turned halfway in my seat to repeat myself, and that's when my stomach dropped. The back seat was empty. The door on the passenger side was cracked open maybe an inch. I hadn't heard it open. I hadn't felt the car rock like someone got out. The air leaking in through that crack felt colder than it should have. "Hello?" I called out, then immediately felt stupid. Who was I expecting to answer? I got out, walked around the car, and opened the back door all the way. Checked the ground. Checked between the seats. Looked up and down the sidewalk. Nobody. No footsteps in the grass. No hoodie disappearing around the corner. No door closing in the complex like someone just walked in. Nothing. I closed the door slowly and got back in. In the app, the ride was still in progress. I hit end trip, expecting the usual fare breakdown. The fare showed up, normal amount. Then a gray warning banner slid across the top of my screen. Rider has been reported for suspicious activity. Use caution. It disappeared almost as soon as I read it, replaced by another. This rider account has been deactivated. I stared at the screen for a solid 30 seconds. I've done thousands of rides. I've never seen that before. A few nights later, I was at a QT off Moreland, grabbing gas and a drink when I ran into another driver I've seen around. We've chatted a couple times about good areas, bad areas, that kind of thing. I asked him, "You ever get any weird warnings from the app about riders?" He looked up from his phone. "What you mean? Like low ratings?" "Nah," I said. "Like, this rider has been reported type stuff." He stared at me for a second, then said, "You get something like that on a rider named Gray?" My skin prickled. "Yeah," I said. "S. Gray." He let out a low whistle. "Bro, I had that account back in the summer," he said. "I swear I'm not lying. I picked someone up in East Atlanta. Hood up, no talking. Whole ride they just staring out the window." "Yeah," I said slowly. "Same." Halfway through, I look in my mirror and the back seat looks empty, he went on. "I figured they ducked down or something. I turn my head, nothing's there, nobody. But the door's still closed. The app still says they in the car." "What did you do?" I asked. "I finished the ride," he said. "Soon as I hit end, I get that same warning. Reported, deactivated. Support emailed me later asking for details of the incident." He shrugged. "What I'm supposed to say? Your ghost got 3 stars for vibes?" We both laughed, but it wasn't the comfortable kind of laugh. Another driver, who had been filling up on the other side of the pump, joined in like he'd been listening. "Y'all talking about that Gray account?" he asked. We both turned like, "Excuse me?" He nodded. "I had that one too. Dude got in my car. I swear I never saw his face. Wouldn't talk. Every time I hit a red light, my doors unlocked on their own. I kept locking them and they kept clicking back open. I thought it was my car glitching till I dropped him off and never saw nobody actually walk away." None of us had an explanation. Just 3 grown men in a QT parking lot at 2 a.m. comparing stories about a rideshare passenger who apparently exists and doesn't at the same time. For a while, I tried to forget about it. I still drove nights. Bills don't care about ghosts. But I found myself paying more attention to the names that popped up, ratings, profile pictures. If a rider had no picture and a long history of 5-star ratings with very little actual written feedback, I hesitated. A month or so later, I was sitting in a random parking lot off Ponce, half thinking about going home. It was a slow night. My phone buzzed with a new ride request. Pick up a few minutes away. 4.9 rating, no picture. The name started with an S. Before I could process it, the request timed out on its own, just vanished. I opened my recent request list, nothing there. No canceled ride, no ping log, no rider canceled or "you missed this request," just like it had never happened. I logged off immediately and went home. I still drive. It's not like I can just quit because of one weird account, but I changed a few little things. If someone gets in my car and sits directly behind me, I always check the mirror twice. I listen for breathing. I look for the glow of a phone, the shifting of clothes, any sign that a regular person is really sitting there. If I get a ping late at night from a blank profile with a 4.9 rating and a generic name, I take a minute. Sometimes I let it time out on purpose. There's something about the way that S. Gray account disappeared. Not just deactivated, but like the app itself didn't want to acknowledge it ever existed. That sticks with me. Maybe it was some kind of system glitch. Maybe somebody at corporate made a weird test account and didn't tell us. Or maybe sometimes, in a city with too many people and too many stories and too many late night rides to nowhere, something else just wants a seat in the back for a while. And the only proof you ever had of it being there is a warning banner that pops up once and never shows again.